Oh, my friends, here's the end of my sermon series. I hope that you have had fun in the last month being introduced to some poetry as our second text. And this morning I have two poems for you from one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver. Her first poem here is It Was Early. Again, reminding me of Blackbird this morning that Zach played. It was early, which has always been my hour, to begin looking at the world, and of course, even in the darkness, to begin listening to it, especially under the pines where the owl lives, and sometimes calls out as I walk by, as he did on this morning. So many gifts. What do they mean? In the marshes where the pink light was just arriving, the mink with his bristle tail was stalking the soft-eared mice, and in the pines, the cones were heavy, each one ordained to open. Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed. Little mink, let me watch you. Little mice, run and run. Dear pine cone, let me hold you as you open. And this second poem, Wild Geese, by Mary Oliver. Friends, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. So this is a sermon that I have preached in many forms, and every time it's because there's something in my spirit sensing the need to explore the grace of the Beatitudes that Michael read for us this morning. And I think it's because I'm getting ready to go on vacation. So I'm just in need of this calm, blessing, quiet moment with Jesus before I go. So here we are. Exploring the Beatitudes to feel their comfort and hope. And today we read them alongside the words of Mary Oliver, who promises you this. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees repenting for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. It's how I imagine the people felt who were gathered on the mountain with Jesus one day. They were surrounded in despair concerning so many things, and they just needed a moment, a bit of grace to soothe them amidst everything that was going on around the world, in their families, in their neighborhoods. And this is what Jesus does. He isn't teaching here, he isn't chastising, he isn't motivating for action. He's blessing them. We know his words by name. We call them the Beatitudes, literally the blessings. But we often have a hard time with these words. I don't know about you, feeling somehow that they aren't for us exactly when we read them, that we don't quite measure up because of the ways that our brains automatically read the words. Jesus says this, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And in our brains we think, am I poor enough in spirit? Or I need to work at being more poor in spirit. Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." And we think, yeah, I think I need to work more on creating peace in the world. Or when Jesus says, "Blessed are those who mourn," and "Blessed are those when others persecute and revile you," we think, well, if that's serving Jesus, then I don't think I need any more grief or persecution. Thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that struggles with the phrasing of these blessings. I think we actually have a hard time feeling blessed or believing that God wants nothing more than to bless us, even when we try not to. We have ingrained in our memory somewhere the idea of a God who is apart from us, judging us, weighing our worthiness, and we're taught we will always fall short. Intellectually, though, we know this isn't true, right? Because we believe in a God of love and grace and all the fullness of that, right? So up here, we get it. But somewhere down deep, our voices from our past, whether it's from our families or the kids who picked on us at school or the church that we attended or the things that we read, that counter this idea, and so we feel unworthy, poor in spirit, broken, less than. We allow those experiences to shadow our idea of a God whose voice becomes synonymous with the negative voices we hear louder than any other. And we are so intimately familiar with our shortcomings, our faults and limitations, our insecurities and our failures, that when we read the Bible, all of that comes with us, and we feel unworthy of God's grace. This God who knows us and our warts better than we know ourselves. And the thing is, the world reinforces those feelings on just about a daily basis. But today I invite you to tune out those voices if you can, or at least turn them down, and listen again. Because Jesus isn't setting up the conditions for blessing. He's just blessing. He does not say, "If you are poor in spirit, then you will be blessed with the kingdom of heaven." Or, "If you are merciful, only then will you receive mercy." Or, "If you are a peacemaker, then you will be called a child of God." Listen, he doesn't phrase it that way at all. It's just we hear it that way. There is no if and then in his sentences, no conditional clauses, even though we mentally insert them in. Jesus isn't setting up the conditions for blessing. He isn't trying to make a deal so that we can know where we stand and can go and earn that blessing. Jesus is actually just simply blessing the people where they are, how they have come. All the people. Not just some of them, not just the ones that made it to church today. All of them. All the struggling, weak, hurt, vulnerable, lost people. In other words, you and me and every soul on this earth. The smallest self inside you, where you feel every bit of who you are not, where you cringe at what you said or did that wasn't perfect, where you don't measure up. Jesus is blessing you, not reminding you of your shortcomings or placing conditions on his love. He is just blessing you. There's one thing I can convince you of today, my friends who are sitting here staring at me like, I'm not sure I'm following her. God's blessing is not conditional. I don't care who you are, what you've done, where you've been. In this passage, Jesus is just blessing you. So imagine with me then, Jesus taking his disciples, his followers, to a place apart, up to a mountain where they could talk and not be disturbed. You'll notice he didn't do that in the midst of the craziness. He took them apart, hence the weeks of vacation that's coming up, so that we could not be disturbed. Surely then, you get the sense that this was a conversation about the most important things, to go to such lengths to have it. And there they sit before him, the poor fishermen and the ones who shamed their families by leaving them behind to follow an itinerant preacher, the ones who are trying to understand but don't get it at all. They fight, they complain, they compete with each other, they hold grudges and they don't want to change, and they're more than anything really afraid. And Jesus doesn't take these poor in spirit and set the conditions for blessing them. He just blesses them. He looked out on that people gathered and he saw that they were poor in spirit, that they were beleaguered and grief-stricken at the state of the world, and they were hungering for righteousness and reviled by others for his sake alone. And so he began to speak. And he said to the 15 gathered, "Blessed are you. Blessed are you." It didn't make any sense at first, but they listened. They were mesmerized. He spoke in blessing and in promises, and in a way no one had ever spoken to them before. And inside of them, they began to see something that looked like wholeness and felt like peace, and seemed to be healing the places they never thought could be healed. Jesus was there, and they knew themselves differently in his presence. It was unlike anything they'd ever seen or heard, and you know what? It was exactly what they needed. Just to be blessed. Now, why would he do that? Bless all the people. It's because the truth is that God shows up with blessing in places you never would imagine God would be. With the poor in spirit. With the kid who was called a screw up and who now is just trying to make his own way in the world. With the teenagers who lost their way in a moment of impulsivity. Or with the parents totally wrecked after the mass shooting, thinking they had sent their kids to school that day in safety, and are mourning in ways most of us can't even imagine. And God is with you, with your broken, vulnerable self that shudders every time you hear a criticism about what you are not, what you aren't doing right, saying right, being right. And it feels like you're being persecuted and reviled, as Jesus said. Because you know what? If God can be in all of those places, holding grace and blessing for all the people, God can be anywhere, and God can be everywhere. So today I wonder, can you sense God's blessing? Not in the ways we often say, like I'm blessed with good health, or God blessed us when the flood missed our house. But can you sense the beatitude kind of blessing there deep inside of you where you don't feel particularly lucky or virtuous or noble? And can you hear it when God says, "Blessed are you in that place, for you are a child of God, and yours is the kingdom of heaven"? Blessed are you. By and large, I don't understand the Beatitudes except like this. So I've been asking myself and wondering, can you listen in on your life and find the ways and times such a beatitude has come to you and offered you its blessing? So today I invite us to listen to the words of Mary Oliver, who said, "Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed." Think about all the places that you have stood last week. Some of them were nice, fun. Some of them were frustrating. Some of them might have been times you had tears strolling down your face. Sometimes I need only to stand wherever I am to be blessed. So look beyond what you can see on life's surface and go deep into vulnerable places and listen to Jesus again, and maybe you'll find the truth of the Beatitudes made very real for you in a quiet summer morning, humming in tune with the birds, in friends who come and listen and make you to feel seen, in the restorative gift of silence and living simply, in the practice of forgiveness and of peacemaking, even in the weariness at the end of a day spent serving someone else. Can you hear it? It's a voice coming to claim you and say to you, blessed are you. Wherever you stand, blessed are you. And my hope for you, my friends, is that you would see and know that this is enough, and really more than enough. Amen.